Welcome to the deep dive. You've sent us some really interesting material exploring how educational psychology is taught. And one approach in particular, the constructivist case study, seems to be generating a lot of buzz.
Yeah, it really does.
So that's our mission today, to really understand what this method is all about and why it's becoming such a significant focus in, the world of teacher preparation. Your sources look like they'll give us a great runway into this, so let's dive in.
Absolutely. And to get a handle on why constructivist case studies are gaining ground, it's useful to take a quick look back at some of the more, well, traditional ideas about how learning happens.
Okay.
For a long time, the dominant views were things like behaviorism, where learning was seen as essentially acquiring the right responses to stimuli.
Right. Stimulus response, rewards, punishment.
Exactly. And then information processing, which kind of likened the mind to a computer that takes in, stores, and retrieves information.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. So, behaviorism is the whole reward and punishment school of thought, shaping behavior from the outside in.
Basically.
And information processing is like thinking of our brains as these sophisticated filing cabinets for knowledge.
Precisely. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But constructivism offers a fundamentally different way of looking at things.
How so?
Instead of learners passively receiving information, constructivism posits that individuals actively build their understanding of the world through their own experiences.
Ah, okay.
Think of it this way. Agin and Kauchek, Proat and Floden,
Hmm.
they all sort of land on a similar definition. Learners are actively constructing meaning, not just absorbing it.
That makes a lot of sense. We're not just sponges. We're actively involved in creating our own knowledge.
But exactly.
And I recall seeing the names Piaget and Vygotsky pop up in some of the background materials. How did their ideas fit into this constructivist framework?
Oh, they're really foundational thinkers. Piaget's work focused on how individuals develop their understanding through various stages as they interact with the world around them.
Right, the developmental stages.
Yeah. Vygotsky, on the other hand, really highlighted the critical role of social interaction and cultural context in how we construct knowledge. For him, learning is very much a social endeavor. So it's not just about your individual experiences, but also about how we learn and make sense of things together.
Interesting. So it's a move away from the idea of a solitary learner to a more interconnected, collaborative view of how we come to know things.
Exactly. And Mayer's work provides a helpful lens for understanding this evolution with his three metaphors of learning.
Okay.
He describes response acquisition, which mirrors that passive learner concept we just talked about, knowledge acquisition, the information processor model,
The filing cabinet.
right, and then knowledge construction, where the learner is actively engaged as a sense maker. He points out how teaching has shifted from a heavy emphasis on rote memorization and drill to more dynamic discussions and meaningful tasks where students are active participants.
So the teacher's role isn't just about delivering information anymore. It shifts to something more like a guide or a facilitator. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the teacher's role evolves into that of a facilitator, helping students navigate the material, make connections, apply their understanding. It's quite different.
Right.
And Clements and Batista offer some really practical suggestions for constructivist teaching that underscore this shift.
Like what?
Well, they suggest designing instruction around problems that students need to solve, really making an effort to understand students' perspectives, and viewing errors not as failures, but actually as valuable insights into their current understanding.
That's a big shift. Errors as learning opportunities.
Totally. They also emphasize that significant learning is a process that unfolds over time, often involves some initial confusion, and it's inherently social. It's not instantaneous.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on the underlying principles of constructivism. Now let's talk specifically about how the case study method fits into all of this.
Right. Well, in an educational context, a case study, as Mercer defines it, is essentially a rich, detailed narrative, a realistic and complex teaching challenge. And it can be looked at from multiple angles. These aren't simple, straightforward scenarios. They're usually layered with different kinds of information, psychological factors, sociological influences, sometimes even historical or scientific elements.
So it's like presenting future educators with a real-world teaching puzzle that they need to analyze and try to figure out.
Precisely. And this aligns beautifully with the core ideas of constructivism we were just discussing.
How so?
By grappling with these complex, real-world problems, students are actively challenged to construct their own understanding of the situation and develop potential solutions, either working individually or, often, collaboratively with their peers.
And what does that look like in a practical classroom setting? How does a typical case study discussion unfold?
Generally, the instructor will start by eliciting the students' initial interpretations of the case, mapping out the various possibilities and perspectives they see.
Getting their first takes?
Exactly. Then, a crucial step is asking for their reasoning. Why do they see the situation that way? This naturally leads to a discussion of different courses of action and the potential consequences associated with each.
So exploring the what ifs.
Yeah. And the instructor's role here is vital. They guide the students towards well-supported solutions, not by giving them the answers, right?
Yeah.
But by prompting them to draw upon relevant research and critically evaluate their options.
It sounds like a very active and engaging way to learn, far from passively listening to a lecture.
It is, very much so. And because it requires this active engagement, some common misunderstandings about constructivist teaching can arise.
Like what?
For instance, Egan and Kauchek address the misconception that clear learning goals become less important or that learning automatically happens just because students are discussing.
Okay. Just talking isn't enough.
Right. They firmly counter these ideas, emphasizing that the teacher's role actually becomes even more critical in guiding students towards genuine and meaningful understanding.
Hmm.
It requires a significant amount of skill to anticipate student responses and help them connect the case content to broader principles in insightful ways.
That makes a lot of sense. It probably demands more from the instructor in terms of facilitation than simply delivering a prepared lecture.
Absolutely, no question. And this also presents a unique set of challenges for instructional technologists.
Oh, in what way?
Well, how do you design learning systems and platforms that truly support this active resource access and the kind of individual meaning-making that's at the heart of constructivism? It's a significant departure from traditional models where information is primarily filtered and presented by the instructor. Right. In a constructivist approach, students might be independently exploring a wide range of primary sources, maybe online, leading to a much more dynamic and, well, less controlled learning environment. Think about designing online platforms for rich discussions, resource access, tracking learning. It's complex.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, the sources you shared also touched on a shift within educational psychology itself towards more subject-specific teaching approaches. How does the constructivist case study method align with this evolving perspective?
That's a really insightful point. Mayer, in his work, highlighted this important move towards instruction that's more specifically tailored to different subject areas, as well as a greater recognition of individual differences among learners.
Okay.
The underlying idea is that effective teaching isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. For example, the pedagogical strategies that work best for teaching literature, where interpretation and open discussion are central, will likely differ significantly from those used in teaching mathematics, which might rely more on sequential problem solving and procedural fluency.
Right, you wouldn't teach someone how to analyze a poem using the exact same methods you'd use to teach them algebra. Makes sense.
Exactly. And this is where case studies become particularly valuable. They can illustrate these subtle but important differences in pedagogical strategies in a very concrete way for future teachers.
Oh.
By analyzing cases that are set within different subject matter contexts, they can begin to develop a nuanced understanding of which instructional approaches are likely to be most effective for different types of content and for diverse learners.
So, what are some of the specific benefits of using this case-based teaching method specifically within educational psychology courses? It sounds like it's becoming a more and more common practice in teacher preparation programs.
You're absolutely right. It is gaining considerable traction. Sudzina and Kilbane, Schulman, Wasserman, they all point to this growing trend.
Right.
And Wasserman particularly emphasizes that the real power of this method lies in the quality of the case discussion itself and the instructor's skill in facilitating that dialogue effectively.
So, the facilitation is key.
It really is. It's a skill that often requires practice and, frankly, a shift in mindset, especially for instructors who are more accustomed to traditional lecture-based teaching.
But the effort seems to be worthwhile. The sources highlight connections between case-based teaching and some really key concepts in education, like pedagogical content knowledge.
Absolutely. Case-based teaching aligns very strongly with Schulman's concept of pedagogical content knowledge, that essential blend of deep subject matter understanding and knowing how to teach it effectively.
Got it.
It also resonates with Brophy's principles of good subject matter teaching, helping students actively construct meaning, engaging them in authentic tasks, fostering higher-order thinking, organizing content around powerful ideas, These rich case discussions really help create those collaborative environments where deeper understanding develops.
And it's not just theoretical benefits we're talking about, right? There's actual research suggesting that it can lead to improved learning outcomes for future teachers.
Yes, definitely. Allen's research provides some really compelling evidence here. He found that pre-service teachers who participated in case study groups actually learned significantly more content from their educational psychology textbooks compared to those taught through traditional lectures or even those using integrative learning logs.
Wow, really? More content.
Yeah. It strongly suggests that the active engagement and problem solving inherent in case studies leads to a deeper level of understanding and better retention of the core principles. It's not just engaging, it seems to stick better.
Wow, that's a pretty significant finding. And I think I also came across something in the materials about potential benefits for their moral reasoning abilities.
That's another fascinating aspect of Allen's work. Yes. He also found that case study instruction may have a positive impact on the development of students' moral reasoning skills.
How would that work?
Well, by grappling with the ethical dilemmas that often arise within educational case studies, the tricky situations, future teachers may develop a more nuanced and sophisticated understanding of the complex moral issues they will likely face.
So it's not just about their academic preparation, but also about nurturing their ethical awareness and decision-making as future educators.
Precisely. And Levin also observed that engaging in case discussions led to a clearer understanding of often complex issues for beginning teachers.
Makes sense. Talking it through clarifies things.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
Lundenberg and Favre found that the process of analyzing cases actually improved pre-service teachers' cognitive flexibility, their ability to think about things from different perspectives, as well as their overall sense of connectedness to the course material.
It sounds like it's really fostering a more holistic development of these future educators, going beyond just content knowledge. The sources even mention the use of case competitions. What are those all about?
Ah, yeah. Case competitions. As described by McNerney, Herbert, and Ford, and Subgina too, their events where teams of pre-service teachers, often from different institutions, come together.
Okay.
They analyze a specific educational case and then propose their solutions to a panel of judges. These competitions provide incredibly valuable opportunities for students to collaborate, reflect deeply, and develop crucial professional skills like research, presentation, teamwork, all in a dynamic setting.
That sounds like a fantastic way to build practical skills and receive constructive feedback in a relatively low-stakes environment before they enter the classroom.
It really is.
But the really crucial question is, does all of this improved understanding and these enhanced skills actually translate into better teaching practices once they're in their own classrooms?
That's certainly the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Allen himself acknowledges that this is an area of ongoing research.
Yeah.
While the initial findings regarding content learning and even moral reasoning are very promising, there are obviously many other factors that can influence how effectively pre-service teachers apply what they've learned in the complex reality of the classroom.
Like what sort of factors?
Well, things like the quality and relevance of the cases themselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
And also the individual student's overall engagement with the method. It's not automatic.
It's interesting to consider how educational case-based teaching compares to the use of case studies in other professional fields like law and medicine. The source material touched on that comparison briefly.
Yes, and it's an important distinction. While there are certainly similarities like the problem-based approach, drawing on theory and research,
Uh-huh.
there's a really key difference in the nature of the problems. In fields like law and medicine, there's often a more objective assessment possible, a clearer body of precedent or scientific evidence to guide decisions. In education, however, you're dealing with a much greater number of subjective interpersonal factors and contextual nuances. What works in one classroom might not work in another. That ambiguity isn't a weakness, though. It's actually a strength.
How so?
It forces future teachers to develop nuanced, context-dependent problem-solving skills. That's crucial for the unpredictable reality of classrooms.
So, unlike some fields, there isn't always one single right answer when it comes to addressing educational challenges.
Exactly. And that's both the inherent challenge and a significant strength of using case studies in teacher preparation. These cases often illuminate the messy realities of schools today, dilemmas without clear-cut solutions.
Right.
This process encourages pre-service teachers to move beyond looking for simplistic answers and instead develop a more sophisticated approach to problem solving, one that's informed by research and theory, but also sensitive to the unique context and individual needs. It pushes them to draw upon multiple sources.
Now, when you have such a diverse range of potential responses to these open-ended case dilemmas, assessment must become a bit more complex. How do you effectively evaluate student learning in that kind of environment?
That's a very valid point and a common concern. The sources suggest a few effective strategies. Role-playing can serve as a really valuable reality check for proposed solutions.
Ah, trying it out.
Exactly. Sometimes an idea sounds good in theory, but falls apart when you try to enact it, even simulate it. Also, many case study textbooks and online resources come with detailed teaching notes and instructors' manuals.
Okay.
These often provide guidance on how to evaluate different approaches and levels of student understanding within the context of specific cases. So there are resources.
It really does seem like case-based teaching and the underlying principles of constructivism are a naturally strong fit for the field of educational psychology.
Absolutely. As Woolfolk points out, this approach views learning as inherently interactive, social, collaborative, and problem-related, all core tenets of constructivist learning theory. The instructor takes on the role of facilitator and guide, helping students actively connect theory, research, and practical classroom applications through the lens of these cases. Watt and Floden even call this balance the constructivist dilemma,
The dilemma being,
the challenge of honoring students' independent efforts while also guiding them towards appropriate, well-supported conclusions. It's a delicate act.
and it seems like the very content of educational psychology itself, topics like student development, learning theories, classroom management, instructional issues, lends itself particularly well to being explored through these real-world scenarios.
Exactly. And by incorporating current, relevant cases, you can keep everyone informed about contemporary issues, diversity, ADHD, whatever's current. Cases make abstract theories feel much more relevant.
Yeah, less theoretical, more grounded.
Right. And they provide a safe space to actually try out different theoretical perspectives, information processing, behaviorism, in a practical context. Ultimately, cases facilitate shared thinking, collaborative knowledge construction, and can even help individualize instruction.
Fedzina's own experiences with using case method teaching, including the incorporation of online discussions and even case competitions, sound like they've led to a really significant shift towards a more student-centered approach.
Yes, her work really highlights the dynamic nature of this pedagogy and underscores the positive impact technology can have, expanding possibilities for collaboration, reflection, and deeper learning through case analysis.
So, for an instructor who is looking to implement this approach in their educational psychology courses, what are some of the key curriculum decisions and practical implementation issues that they really need to think about?
Well, Wasserman offers some excellent foundational guidance.
Yeah.
She emphasizes the critical need for instructors to thoroughly understand the case itself, the underlying educational issues, their students, and even their own teaching style.
Knowing yourself as an instructor, too.
Yes. And she stresses preparing thought-provoking questions and designing effective follow-up activities. Beyond that, Sudzina and Kilbane point to key decisions like course organization around cases, careful case selection, and the methods for analysis and evaluation.
The time factor seems like it could be a significant consideration.
Hmm.
You need to allow sufficient time for students to really delve into a case and have a meaningful discussion, right?
Absolutely. It definitely requires careful planning. There might be a trade-off between breadth of content covered and the depth achieved through case exploration. However, as Allen's research suggests, that deeper engagement can lead to significantly better retention, and it provides valuable pre-practice in a low-stakes environment.
And when it comes to selecting the cases themselves, there seems to be a wide range of options available, from textbooks to online resources, even writing your own.
Exactly. The key is considering your learning objectives, the case context and complexity, and the best format for your students. Then there's how you structure the classroom for analysis individual, cooperative groups, collaborative, competitive.
And teaching group work skills if you go that route.
Definitely. Explicitly teaching effective collaboration skills is really important for successful group case analysis.
And the types of assignments that can be built around case studies seem quite varied as well, ranging from simple reading and note-taking to more elaborate presentations and in-depth written analyses.
Precisely. And for the actual analysis and evaluation, frameworks like the one from McNerney, Herbert, and Ford, based on Dewey's work, can be incredibly helpful.
How does that work?
It provides a structured way to identify facts and issues, consider perspectives and values, draw on relevant knowledge, project actions, and analyze consequences. It really develops reflective thinking and problem solving.
Useful skills.
Very. Cases can even be used for assessment pre-post checks, midterms, finals. Peer review is another option too.
It sounds like there are a lot of different elements to consider, and instructors need to be prepared to navigate some potential implementation challenges.
Yes, definitely. The instructor's own familiarity and comfort level is one thing. You also need to be mindful of diverse student experiences. Traditional versus non-traditional learners bring different perspectives.
Which can be a good thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. That diversity can really enrich the discussions. But facilitating effective group collaboration and managing discussions to cover necessary content are crucial skills for the instructor.
Okay, so to summarize our deep dive today, it really sounds like this constructivist case study approach in educational psychology is a remarkably valuable and increasingly well-supported method. It actively engages future teachers in authentic problem solving and fosters a much deeper, more nuanced understanding.
Exactly. And for you,
Yeah.
as someone interested in learning efficiently and thoroughly, this method offers a powerful way beyond just memorizing facts and theories.
Right.
It provides that crucial bridge, connecting concepts to real-world classroom challenges, ultimately leading to more effective, adaptable, and reflective teaching practices.
So here's a final thought to really consider. Think about how this fundamental shift in teacher preparation, moving towards active construction of knowledge through grappling with real-world problems, might ultimately ripple outwards and profoundly impact the learning experiences of students in classrooms for generations to come.
Mm.
It really makes you consider the long-term implications of how we choose to educate our educators.